Hey everyone, if you like other paranormal and conspiracy topics, please consider subscribing to our podcast. The link is in the description. It's called Our Big Dumb Mouth. You can get it on iTunes or Stitcher. It's adult language and it's explicit. Thank you for listening and watching. Here is our Missing 411 segment on theories and conjecture. Bye. Herb alert. So now we're actually into the 411 segment, which will directly relate to Clown Baby's segment about the Goat Man. The Goat Man of Maryland, Kentucky, and Wisconsin.
I'm ready to hear about it.
Yeah.
How's it fit in? How do puzzle pieces fit?
I've been reading a lot of stories about the missing 401, listening to a lot of interviews, and so what fits in is a story from the late 1800s of this 5-year-old girl who was with her father, and she would work on the farm, and they, farm and the farmhouse is, quite a few yards away from one another. And when she went up to the farm, she didn't return back to her father, who was down in the fields. And when that happened, got panicked and started going out looking for his daughter. He looked all day and all night, called whatever neighbors he could and let everyone know. And then right around dusk, it just so happened that I think 3 or 4 hunters were out. And as they were coming up upon the girl, they saw a large, hairy, bipedal wolf-like creature scamper and leap off, which kind of fits into what some of the descriptions are about the Goat Man. And
that's crazy.
That is crazy. And when the hunters asked the girl what happened to her, she said, the dog ate my hat.
What?
Yeah, I remember this. I've heard this story
The
a little
dog
bit.
ate my hat. So she perceived whatever may have taken her as a dog. It could have been an upright, bipedal, hairy, humanoid, let's just go ahead and say a werewolf kind of creature. But but she viewed it as a regular dog, and it ate her hat.
You know about the werewolf guy, right? And I believe in France. It was like in the very, very early. And he was like a crazy guy that like wore a wolf skin and would like jump around and like he was kind of insane, but he would steal little boys and kill them. And they eventually caught him and killed him.
Well, So this goes into some additional 411 stuff. I've been trying to dig more into theories, possible theories of what is going on, what is causing these disappearances. And I've also been looking on the other side of stuff, of possible more reasonable explanations, like looking at some detractors. Is David Pallotta's data, is it valid? Is it authentic? And from what I see, it is authentic, although there are some detractors out there to say, look, all these cases, it's probably just animals, mountain lions. But, I can understand, okay, mountain lions want to drag somebody's body to a higher elevation to where they may live. But that doesn't explain neatly folded clothes, just shoes being gone. It doesn't explain a large portion of these anomalies that are occurring with these missing people.
Bodies being found with their pants on backwards.
Pants half down.
That doesn't explain anything in the South, because I don't think there's mountain lions in the South.
What's that, Clown Baby?
The shoes are usually missing.
Yeah, shoes are missing. It doesn't explain anything about no damage to bodies with people being found in lakes or rivers and high amounts of GHB in the system. It explains nothing. So those people who think it's just mountain lions or cats, they're completely stupid and delusional and haven't read any of this stuff. And they're just trying to pick something that is sane and realistic in their everyday life to make sense of this, which is not going to work. So we have to get into some crazy shit. There's no doubt we actually have to get into some crazy shit right now, and that is what I'm going to do right now. Hold on, let me walk through my door. There we go. All We're in Command Center Alpha 1 now. Okay, so some crazy shit and some things I want to run down and run past you guys about what possibly could be going on here. I sent out a message with the map of the missing 411 with an overlaid map of military command bases for entrance of new personnel. So all the bases are marked on the map, and those are bases that would bring in new personnel to the military. And I don't know if you saw the actual JPEG, but they actually, those bases are not too far away from where people disappear, and they actually kind of follow a pattern because there's no bases in the middle of the country.
So, quick question about the map.
Mm-hmm.
Bases are the orange dots?
The white dots.
White dots.
Anything with pointers around them is... People, yeah.
I just found it interesting that you put the dots on there, right?
Yes.
He gave you the map with the arrows.
Yeah, exactly.
And that came off their website? Or?
That's correct, yeah.
So I just found it interesting you put those bases on there and all the arrows are pointing into the bases. Like some of the clusters, the arrows are all pointing into the center circular area where the base is marked.
Yeah. And so I'll see if I can bring open the map right now. It's kind of curious how it can kind of match. So here it is. So I did all the white dots, and so I didn't do the orange.
What are the orange dots?
The orange dots are the clusters.
Oh, okay.
The white dots are
the bases.
The actual bases that are in fairly close.
Very close proximity.
Fairly close proximity. If you
especially since you guys were talking about dump last time.
Yeah, if you take a look at it, there's not a lot of bases in the middle of the country, a few here and there in Texas, but it follows a very similar pattern. These military entrance bases follow a relatively similar on the surface pattern of the missing 401 cases. Now, mind you, the missing 401 cases, I think he's only examined 1,800 cases. There could be and there probably is many, many more.
And he's only examined cases that involve national parks. Now, he has said he's working on a series of people missing from the cities in metro areas. And I bet you're going to get some cases that are going to go up in those deserty, dry areas of the country in the middle there. Because you're going to have people that can drive to a national park that is in a desert. And if they go missing, maybe they didn't tell anybody they were going to the park that day. Or they weren't with anybody.
He doesn't have good information on Yosemite.
People walk into the desert, and it's like they disappear all the time.
He covers Yosemite in his first book.
I thought he had a lot of trouble getting information out of Yosemite.
I mean, he has... There are definitely a decent amount of cases.
Okay.
Well, he needs a lawyer. He needs a team.
Yeah.
There should be like... I don't know. There should be a Reddit for it, and there should be hundreds of people willing to file information requests.
There is a Reddit for it, and it needs more popularity. If anybody is listening to this and has access to David Pilates, Pilates. I'm sorry.
Oh, God, it's not Pilates. It's Pilates.
Pilates. If you guys are, if you're listening to this and you're interested, email the dude and tell him you want to make information requests because he's having problems getting information requests about cases. He could easily probably slide you 10 cases to
exactly. File. Help him out any way you can. It's very interesting stuff. I want access to the data. He said that I listened to a show where he was on that he said there should be a public database of this stuff. If I can get access to the digital versions of his books, I can turn that all into a database.
Yeah, I definitely think that I feel like database should be easy. If you have one person like you, 2 or 3 people, if you had the information in an Excel spreadsheet, you can turn that into any kind of data.
Yeah,
right there.
In one of our newest 401 YouTube video, someone responded saying that there were people doing like data aggregation for him.
Oh yeah, well I saw that too.
Where are the links?
I don't know where it's accessed online. If I had
put the links on, put them in the YouTube comments.
I have a database right now.
We want to link to it on our website.
That I can put up on the website, and each one of those I can use Google Maps to do this shit. The amount of technology that's not behind this is staggering, and I can help out with it if I have access to the raw data, which I don't have, and I haven't gotten any response back. So if anybody listens and has access to maybe one-on-one with David, let him know there's somebody who can create databases and get it online that is searchable and viewable by a mass audience.
You know, we have one of these cases in our family. I talked to my mom about this. Her great uncle went missing from the time he was seen when he went to bed, and then he had everything laid out for church the next day. He lived with his son and his wife, and he was never seen again. He was in his 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is the guy,
Pennsylvania, southwest Pennsylvania.
That's right. I think this is one of the guys that would wake up every day, have a shot of vodka, and before he went to bed every day, he had a shot of vodka, and that's how he lived his life. And he was in his 80s, and then just one day he up and went missing, and he was never found again.
And went missing without his cane, which he always had on him.
Yep.
And I'm thinking it was in the Uniontown, Ronco area. I'm going to try and see if I can call the police department, see if they can dig up the old file. I mean, it was a big story at the time.
I contacted the news organization who did the missing 411 voicemail, and they haven't gotten back to me yet. So I'm going to contact the actual police department.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear the full voicemail on that, because it is written in the description that there's somebody at the end says, "Where do you stop?" or something at the end. And I really want to hear the whole message because they only play a clip of it. Now, this could be a case of that case is not very old. It's from last year, where the police are not releasing a lot of information, which is part of the case that I want to present later.
Yeah. What are you saying, Jeff?
Did you who did you say you were with when you contacted that news station?
I just said I used my personal email address, and I said I was by myself. I didn't say I was with anybody.
Yeah, I would just be like, I'm very interested in the case.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Just tell me like you're with independent media, or tell them you're from WOBDM.
Yeah, yeah, I guess.
Or WBDM or something.
Well, let's. Here's a couple more theories here. So we talked about some of these cases are taking place fairly close to some military bases, and the next one is fairies and berries. There's a lot of stories about fairies abducting people, and there's also a lot of reports of people who do turn up with berries in their possession. People who go out picking berries and never return. Something with berries, and
that came up a lot in 411.
Yeah, so there's some kind of weird connection. I don't know what the fairies mean, and I don't know what the connection is with these berries. But that's a telltale sign. If you're even thinking about going and picking berries, bad idea. Get that right out of your fucking head. It's not worth doing.
Apparently, that's Bigfoot's turf.
Yeah, big time. There was someone in the comment section of our video that said it sounded like the missing 411 voicemail sounded like a taser, and some of the high pitched stuff, and it sounded exactly like a taser. Maybe that's the case. Maybe these people are tased and incapacitated in some way by using electricity, but how they're moved from point A to point B over such a distance and elevation in a short amount of time is quite bizarre and mysterious.
Taser's only effective as long as it's engaged and its battery's not that long.
Maybe it's a taser with a bigger battery source. We don't know what the tasers or that electrical device is hooked up to.
There's better ways to kill people.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. There's also the theory of boulder spirits, which is, I believe that there is Native American stories about boulder spirits. There are people that have warned people not to go near boulders or lake beds with a lot of boulders. There is legends of Icelandic boulder spirits, of creatures and spirits that live in these boulders, and that these spirits are actually the ones that are abducting people. I'll read a little bit here. Police from Iceland, with many farms having rocks that are not mowed closely and on which children are not allowed to play. When construction was about to start on an airbase, the Icelandic foreman dreamed that a woman came to him asking to delay moving the boulder to give her family time to move out. He did so for 2 weeks over the American objection until she came to him in another dream telling him that they were all out. So he paid attention to his dream, and basically this boulder spirit said, hey, just give us time to get out of our boulder and we'll move on. Very bizarre before they even attempted to move that boulder.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of alien encounters, or like kind of like the Kentucky Goblins in a way, in different areas where people report seeing like silver creatures or men in silver suits walking into doorways that appear out of boulders in several alien reports. And that's I feel like that plays along with that.
Even that story we talked about with a few months ago with that kid who was abducted and recalls seeing his grandma with sparks shooting out of her head. He was in a cave. He was in a boulder. I mean, a boulder's, just a mountain or a cave, hollowed out. He's inside of a rock. He recalls being inside of a rock and having his grandmother ask him to take a shit or a crap on the floor. Bizarre shit.
Very strange.
Bizarre shit.
On the food note, there is a gentleman that's written a book about food taboos in the paranormal world, and I was trying to look up the name of the book, but it's a book all about the legend is in almost all folklore, in the fairies, the paranormal, and all these different traditions. When you interact with these paranormal creatures, if they offer you food, you should not eat it, because if you eat that food, you will be trapped in that world forever.
Interesting. Oh, yeah, that's actually a running theme in a lot of anime. If you get transported to another world, don't interact or eat anything from that world because you'll permanently be there. I'll run down just a few more 401 notes here that I have. And we're kind of treading on some stuff we talked about before, but I think it's relevant just to drill this into people's heads. People who tend to disappear near boulder fields. People tend to disappear near berry bushes. Abrupt weather changes after a person disappears, making search much more difficult. And there's inordinate amount of aircraft that have been down when in search of missing people.
You think this is tied to DARPA? Weather machine?
No, I don't know. I you can't say, because there's any theory is just as valid as the next, because you can't say yes or no. Typically, young athletic men are taken, but there's obviously children and older people. There's a spectrum. Either you're mentally disabled and not able to communicate very well, or you're fairly intelligent and you're taken. And it looks like whoever's taking these people want to examine the extremes of intelligence and not necessarily the middle of the road. So I think we're okay.
Excellent. We're safe.
Yes.
Yes, if we keep drinking, we'll keep our brain power down.
People who come back are sometimes in a state of extreme confusion. The biggest cluster of strange disappearances in the United States is located in Yosemite National Park. When a child's clothes are found, it tends to be bright and, again, near water or a dry creek bed. People disappear for days, even weeks, and in the end reappear untouched by the elements, which
actually, that's what happened at the end of that Skinwalker book. The guy was in Skinwalker land, what he thought was hours, but apparently he was found back in that shed after apparently 3 days, and he was found at room temperature, despite it being 20 degrees outside, and he had lost 17 pounds and been slightly dehydrated, so kind of a similar experience as to what you're talking about.
Jesus Christ. People of European, more specifically German descent, tend to disappear. And so there's also been rumors that maybe this has some kind of correlation with the catamulation, because that's also a mysterious thing, that catamulation, where there's various surgical operations performed on cattle and there's really been no explanation for it. Some people claim it's alien or military. I think it's actually personally military, but there's been no surgical operations done on these taken people, at least none that I've read. They've either been, you've only find bits and pieces of them. If their body is found, they return, or their body's found relatively unharmed, or they return alive relatively unscathed. There's been no indication that they have been surgically altered in any way, other than the stories where they specifically asked for that kid to take a shit on a piece of paper so they could collect it. So there might be some collection of DNA done, but not being removed forcefully like in cattle mutilations. So
this kind of brings me to the Connecticut frog folk.
The Connecticut frog folk. Okay.
Yeah, it's a short passage in the book, but it said for years there's rumors of an inbred family of large-eyed freaks that have been circulating through this town in Connecticut and in Fairfield County. And it said that the mysterious family lives together on a decrepit compound not far from Bethel's center. Bethel is a community, and that the members of a clan have been observing milling around the place, spilling from open doors and windows, and performing various bizarre, unspecified acts. They even venture into town from time to time. We hear for occasional shopping trip. They're not like. So it says these frog people. They have large heads, small bodies, and hair that tended to appear only in patches, all of which enhance the amphibious look. Eyewitnesses went so far as to call one of them a monster, but generally, local consensus seems to be that the frog people grotesque features are caused by years of inbreeding, and that no one knows for sure. However, the inbreeding explanation also fails to account for another widespread type of mammal, and so it goes into other stuff. But they have eyeballs the size of their head, large eyeballs, almost like grays, and amphibian like slimy, wet skin.
And they go shopping at Kroger's?
Well, this reminds me of Mysterious Universe stories of where aliens try and come to Earth and they try to learn about us and try and fit in.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Like, oh, that's a pen. What do you do with it? Do you write with it? Oh, what's that? Oh, it's a fork. Oh, can I write with a fork? No, you can't write with a fork. Well, why not? It seems like something like that where these aliens try and kind of fit in with us.
Is this how you do it? And he's like caressing the lady's leg.
Come out of this half-assed like frog human being that you see from time to time, and then these aliens are. It's like Data getting caught and fucking up, and civilization discovers them. And
yeah, it's they're trying to learn how society and humans work.
You don't tell me how to behave. You're not my mother.
No, I'm sorry, Data. I'm not your mother. You're right. It's bizarre. Connecticut frog people.
Yeah, that was a passage in the Connecticut frog.
I like that.
About 3 paragraphs long. Sum that one up was good to go.
That's all I got for right now. I got more stuff.
You have that's a lot of notes.
I got notes and notes and notes and
that's
notes.
Like paragraphs and paragraphs and notes there, buddy.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on.
Is everything going okay, man?
It's fine. Let's get over to your story.
All right.
Just delete that.
Winning.
So we have a local urban missing 411 kind of.
Nice.
We have a really famous one, the Brian Schaefer case, which
is this the guy who disappeared from the club?
He disappeared from the Ugly Tuna Saloon about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
He was gone. He went missing on March 3rd or 5th, I think. And I double checked because this recent one happened on March 15th of this year, and the Arnold Classic was in town, so I double checked to see when the Arnold Classic was when Brian Schaefer went missing, and it wasn't until April 1st.
Athletic people?
Well, the thing is thousands. This is an international festival. It only happens here in America, in Columbus, Ohio. There is another branch of it that they've started doing in Germany.
I thought it did tour around a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
It's a one-time in America thing. So there are lots of people from out of town here. It's a very busy time. This gentleman went missing on March 15th. I believe was the date of it. I'll have to double check. I don't have my notes. I left them in the car.
God damn it, Bryce.
His name is Joey LaBute. All right. He was missing for 24 days. His body was found in the Scioto River. But during the time that he was missing, it's very similar to Brian Schaefer's case. Last time he was seen was in a club called the Union Cafe, only a mile away from the Ugly Tuna Saloon.
Yeah.
not very far.
It's a mile away from here.
It's an easy walk. Interesting things. So there's like a timeline. He went to Union to meet some family friends, or some family, actually, his cousins. And then he went to go get a drink and never returned. There's video footage of him leaving the bar. Interesting side note, I was like, they kept saying Thurber Gate, Thurber Gate. Why do I know Thurber Gate? Thurber Gate's the apartment complex you live in.
Yeah, right next to it.
And that's where he parked his car because he used to live here, and he has the parking pass still. So his car was left there. He walked to Union Cafe, and I remember you talking about you guys seeing a very drunk gentleman with his pants down in the middle of the street. People get wasted over here.
Sure, big time. They walk back, yeah.
And the river is very close to here.
Yes, it is.
So this gentleman, they released like about a week or two ago. Coroner said he was definitely dead before he was in the water.
Interesting.
So he was probably murdered. They're treating it as a homicide. He was missing for 24 days. They have not released the toxicology.
Yeah.
There was no stab wounds or bullet wounds is the only thing the police have told us. And the my idea is that if they don't figure out who did it fairly soon, is they're probably going to release the toxicology and say he had a very high level of GHB in his system.
He was drugged.
Because he was found in a body of water. He was found in the Scioto River, just south of the confluence of the two rivers, the Olentangy and the Scioto. So this man was found on the peninsula. There's a peninsula called the Whittier Peninsula where they launch boats from the new park they built called the Audubon Park, just south of on South High Street. And the other thing that was really curious is, so he parked his car, he left the club. There was a phone call from a family member to him where he picked up the phone, whoever had his phone, during the time after he left Union, where he just said, "I am driving," and hung up. And that's it. And then there was a butt dial text message where it was just like the 4 closest letters together.
Interesting.
Sent to his aunt at like 3 a.m. the day that he went missing.
Wow. Something I want to know that hasn't been really mentioned. I know that DNA is not released with autopsies. But one thing we can get is, when were these people born? I want to know their signs. I want to know if they're Sagittarius. I want to know if they're Gemini. I want to know if people have particular signs.
Well, this guy is 26 years old, which I think was the same age as Brian Schaefer also.
Well, I want to know what day they're born.
I think his birthday is available.
So all these people, I want to know if you're more likely to be abducted if you're a Gemini as opposed to a Sagittarius. Stuff like that.
Okay.
And where people actually fit. Is there some kind of
connection there? Yeah, you're looking to a more
astronomy.
You're looking at an esoteric approach. That's a very interesting idea.
And so, if we can get that information, put that into the database, we could very easily see if there's a pattern. I haven't seen that information in any of the 401 books. But I know they can't release. I know they can't release blood type. Mm-hmm. They can't release the DNA. So let's just go on birth date.
The other strange thing about this is this man looks very similar to Brian Schaefer. Dark hair. They're about the same height and build. Both white males.
White.
There was not released what his body was wearing. So I'm also predicting that we're going to find out that when they found the body,
no shoes.
No shoes.
Yeah.
Possibly pants down. Mm-hmm. Or no clothes at all. He was in the water for a while. That's why it took them so long.
Fragments.
What's that, Jeff?
Finding the body's kind of ambiguous. They could have just found fragments of them.
We don't know.
Well, the body was in the water for several days. And they haven't released how much time. The other curious thing about this, so in the Brian Schaefer case, there was a message left on a obituary board for his father because his father died in that freak storm we had a few years ago. Do you remember that freak storm that blew the power out for a while?
Yeah.
His father was killed in that freak storm. And on the obits page, somebody posted as Brian Schaefer, "I miss you, Dad." And they traced the IP address back to a either in downtown or in a node off of Hilliard. All right. So in this case, again, an internet-based thing on a comments page is left on one of the articles where they mentioned that they found, when they released that they found his body in the river, and that it was Joey LaBute.
Yeah.
LaBute, I think. The comments section, somebody registered an account and said, well, it seems he got that drink of water he wanted. And that account was connected to a fake Facebook that was completely, I don't have all the details in front of me, but that fake Facebook is now deleted. The comments were disabled on the page. The person that notified the people that I heard about this from also notified the Columbus police about it, saying this is what I took screenshots. I thought this was really weird. And now all that stuff's been taken down. So they're definitely getting a lead out of it. But this is very strange. You have this internet comment connection again, 10 years later. It's on the 10-year anniversary almost.
This is like a serial killer.
Well, yeah. And there's idea that there might be this. Have you ever heard of the smiley face killer thing?
Yeah, there's been rumors of a Columbus serial killer for a while.
And then I think I brought up there's another one about the Columbus serial killer thing.
Yeah.
So, it could be that. I feel like the person had to be pretty young if it was both Brian Schaefer and this young guy.
We don't need some decrepit serial killer out there.
There's some other stuff on there too because the guy was gay.
Yeah.
The gay community has been very worried about this. He was on Grindr and was checked in. The last time he checked in was near Union Cafe.
Yeah, he could have hooked up with somebody.
But it doesn't say on the Grindr app what times, apparently. Like what time exactly.
When you actually start grinding.
I'm sure they have that like timestamp information.
Yeah.
But so it's an unsolved mystery.
Yep.
It's very local. I mean, I was surprised because I was looking up. I was like, "Where's this Thurber Gate?"
Well, right next door.
It's like right near you. It was
right next door to
his
Command
car,
Center Alpha 1.
So his car was parked between Michigan and whatever the next street is towards the river.
Yeah, I used to put shaving cream on that car. Nice. As a joke.
Shaved it.
All right, let's do some headlines here.
When news gets hard,